Hey guys, it's Mr. Francie here, and welcome back to another weekly reading vlog. Oh my god. Okay, I do not have a lot of time to waste because generally my device runs out of recording in like 33 minutes and I have just so much to talk to you guys about. So if I end up pausing here and there or going through books incredibly quickly, I do apologize. It's just there is so much to discuss. You guys literally have no idea. I'm thinking of maybe doing some midweek check-ins as well from now on because a week is just too long to go by when you're reading this much as I am. But let's get right into it and talk as much in order as we can about what I've been reading this week and how all that's been going. Let's check it out. Start off with Once, the first book I read this week. So I was talking to you guys about this in my last reading vlog. I actually had to go back and rewatch that one to work out, what was I actually reading last time we spoke? But yeah, I was still reading Once, but I finished this book off, I think it was like the very next day. So yeah, I finished this one off pretty quickly. It is a middle grade, I want to call it contemporary, middle grade contemporary war fiction. I don't know, something like that. Basically, it's centered around the protagonist, who is a Jew who is in an orphanage, at least at the beginning, and it is set in Warsaw, Poland during the whole Nazi reign. So, put two and two together. This is what this book is about. I was reading this book on behalf of one of my best friends. Her kids is going to high school, very first year this year, and this is one of the books that he's going to read. I definitely would not have picked this book out for myself. And yeah, I think I ended up giving it like a 2-star rating because I really did not enjoy it, but I had a lot to say in the review. So if you'd like to check that out, please check out my Once review in the reviews playlist in my, playlist section. All right, let's move on to book number 2. The book that Mr. Francie gushes about all the time. It's Mistborn. Oh my god. It is so late right now, you guys. It's like 11 o'clock in the evening. Otherwise, I will be screaming right now because I love this book so much. In fact, the hardest and toughest thing about this book is that it's finished and I cannot, because of a promise I made to myself, I cannot pick up book number 2 until the 1st of March, which is about 2 weeks away. Yes, I am counting down the days because, oh my god, I miss Brandon Sanderson. I miss this world so much. I loved this book that much that I ended up giving it a 5-star review. And I also did 3 reviews in the reviews playlist, so feel free to check that out. The first one is more of a reactional video that you receive from me somewhere between 30 to 60 seconds after I finished the book, and then I straight away started recording. It is a spoiler-free reactional video. The second video is a spoiler video diving all the way through the plot and discussing the plot in as much detail as the time would allow, so it's very detailed. And then the third review is my thoughts and feelings in a very big spoiler way. I loved this book, and if you have not read this book but you love fantasy, especially fantasy with incorporated hard magic systems, you are going to love this book. It will change your life, okay? Normally, I just want to kind of say, it might be for you, it might not be for you, but this book, trust me on this one, this book is for you. Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. There is a book that comes before this one, Elantris, but I was told that you don't need to read Elantris first. You can start by reading Mistborn, and the booktuber that I absolutely love who recommended this also said, as well as many others said, start with Mistborn and then go to Well of Ascension and kind of do it that way. So I'm glad I did. Absolutely love this book. So grateful to have read it. 5-star book for sure. Now let's move on to 3 Dark Crowns. Now, I do apologise about the glossy cover. There's really nothing I can do about it. But yeah, here we go. 3 Dark Crowns. This book is by Kendra Blake. Either way, there's the book, a little bit more clearly for you. There you go. Okay, so let's talk about this book. The premise of this book sounds absolutely amazing. 3 sisters that are queens, and basically they're all ruling, but only one can wear the crown and only one can rule. So basically they have this big battle to determine who is going to be the overall ruler. Sounds amazing, right? Yeah, absolutely. With the exception of the writing style. Okay, so this is a personal preference, but the writing style of Ms. Kendare Blake is not for me. It is so incredibly flowery, you guys. Oh my god, I'm going to give you a very quick example. Okay, this is from page 14. How, when it was over, they looked so peaceful that had it not been for the froth on their lips, you would have thought they had died in their sleep. How, when it was over, they looked so peaceful that had it not been for the froth on the lips, you would have thought that they died in their sleep. It's just so incredibly flowery, and that is basically the page I was on, was page 14. I think I got through the first chapter, I don't really know, but the problem with flowery writing, and if you don't know what flowery writing is, it's basically, oh my gosh, it's writing that makes you think. And an example I can give of that is like Shakespeare. Any of Shakespeare's stuff, if you are reading Shakespeare in the modern day, but you're reading the ye old Shakespeare books, which are wonderful. Don't get me wrong, William Shakespeare, an amazing playwright, absolute lot of love for him. But you really have to think about the language and try and translate what they're saying at the same time while trying to read what it is that you're reading. And it's exactly the same with this book. I really wanted some simple writing, and that's not what I got from this one. This, I do believe, is a young adult. It might be an adult book, but I'm pretty convinced. No, it's not. It's a library book, and you got the YA right there. This is a young adult fantasy book. This book, Mistborn, I am going to call an adult epic fantasy book. And Brandon Sanderson's style for an adult epic fantasy book is much simpler to read than this one. And this is adult epic fantasy. So after about a chapter, I thought, premise notwithstanding, the flowery writing style, it's just giving me a headache and it's not allowing me to enjoy the book enough. So unfortunately, it became my second DNF, second DNF for this year alongside Succubus Blues. I'll talk about all of my DNFs in a seasonal DNF wrap-up video coming up towards the end of this month. Now let's move on to, the camera's moving there, Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson, part of the Remnant Chronicles series, and that is the last time I'm going to have to say the Remnant Chronicle series. There we go, that was the last time, because I have decided to DNF this book. So, if you've been with me for a while now, you know the deal with this book, but if you haven't, I'll rewind a little bit and tell you again, I'm sorry about the glossy cover. It's a library book. There's nothing I can do about it. It's literally stuck on, so I can't take the sleeve off. Basically, quite a number of weeks ago now, really, really hot summer's night, I couldn't sleep, so I decided to check out an audiobook to listen to. Thought if I can't sleep, at least I'll listen to an audiobook. You know, I love my reading and all that. So, came across Kiss of Deception and absolutely loved it, so much so that I was stuck to this audiobook like glue. Any break that I got from anything that I was doing, I was listening to this audiobook. Unfortunately, to cut a long story short, it got to a bit of a slump in the middle, and so I decided to DNF the audiobook. However, while I was still fully obsessed with it and stuck to it like glue, I had actually reserved the physical copy from my library. I DNF'd the book, and I kid you not, the very next day this book arrived for me to pick up from what I had reserved in my library. So I thought, okay, sorry again about the glare. Okay, bless, it's a sign, I'll go and pick it up and I'll start a reread, whether I read it along with the audio or not. I started off reading the first half of the first chapter with the audio, and it was not working for me because the audio was way too slow. Now, I know that audiobooks need to be paced at a certain time, but this one was ridiculously so slow that when I turned it up to like 2 times the speed, that was about the normal speed that I wanted to be reading at. Anyway, so I decided to DNF the audio version and just continue reading on with the book itself. I got to the end of the first chapter and I just had a lot of thoughts by the time I got to the end of the chapter. I did not want to go through the slog of this book again. One of the biggest downfalls for me with this book is that there was meant to be a lot to do with magic, but I got to over halfway and there was no magic at all introduced into the book, unlike my favourite book, Mistborn, which gets into magic very, very quickly in the first chapter or two. So, you know, really does say a lot. So I ended up DNFing Kiss of Deception, and I will discuss this more in my summer DNF, my seasonal DNF discussion for summer, so check that out over there. So far I have finished 2 books, and I have DNF'd 2 books, but there was still time to read, quite a lot of time. I don't even think I'd gotten to Wednesday, because quite frankly, I think I finished Mistborn on Monday, and so I started reading Three Dark Crowns on Tuesday, DNF that quickly, started reading Kiss of Deception, I think Tuesday as well, DNF that quickly, so I had a long time before my next weekly vlog with you guys, and so I started and completed Vampire Academy, book number 1 in the Vampire Academy series, or volume 1, I believe they call it, but either way, by Richelle Mead. I love this book, and technically this is a reread for me, but I actually read this book so very long ago that there was not a lot that I recalled about this at all. So I really felt like I was going into it with fresh eyes. As I progressed through the book, there were things that I was remembering once again, like, oh yeah, I remember that character. Oh yeah, I remember that this happened to another particular character. Oh yes, I remember this character, and you know, so certain memories did come flooding back to me, but I did not remember the end until I actually read the ending. And now let's quickly just give you a quick wrap up of this book. I end up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars, and I finished it today, so I literally have put it up on Goodreads, I think about 2-3 hours ago, so really, really freshly finished this. It is a good book. It's a great story. I loved it. There were no boring parts for me. One of the biggest problems I did have with this book, however, is that Richelle Mead, I was reading this more through let's try that again. I was reading this book the first time through the eyes of a young adult. Now I'm reading this young adult book through the eyes of an adult, an older adult, and there are little things that really got to me, and I'll just mention one of them here, and I'll do a review at some point, probably after this video, where I go into more detail. But one of the biggest problems I have with this book is that Richelle Mead has decided to start you off in present day, and then at certain points throughout the book, she has the character having a flashback of what happened, you know, quite a while ago. And throughout the book, up to this point of the first flashback, they've been talking about all these things, but we don't know what they are. Finally, we get to these points of revealing what they are through flashbacks. That's all great. I have absolutely no problem with that. The problem I do have is that the transition from present day into the past and back into present day is so seamless, which normally should be a really good thing, but the problem is it is that seamless that it becomes incredibly confusing to know whether I'm in the past or whether I'm in the present. So there were times where I'm going, okay, having a quote, da 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 da, she said, okay, did she say this in the past? Did she say it in the present? Where are we? So, yeah, so that was a little bit disappointing for me. But yeah, I will do a proper review on this. I just wanted to quickly say that, yeah, I had this on my TBR for this month, and I've already read it, and there's still 2 weeks left of February. So there you go. So with there being 2 weeks of February still left to go, bet you're wondering, so Mr. Francie, you've read all the books that you had in your TBR, what are you going to do? Well, I promised myself I was not going to read The Well of Ascension, the second book in the Brandon Sanderson Mistborn series Mistborn series, thank you. I'm just trying to remember what it is. The Mistborn series until March, and I'm counting down to March 1st. March 1st, you best believe, I'm going to be reading Well of Ascension, like... Once it turns midnight, if I'm awake, I'm starting to read that book because I just can't wait to get back there. And I'm also going to be reading Frostbite in March, which is the second book in this one, in the Vampire Academy series. So I will keep going on with that. 3 stars, wasn't a bad book, but, you know, good enough for me to keep reading part number 2. So, but what am I going to do with the next 2 weeks of February? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's get right into it. The first book that I am reading for the second half of February is Helen Keller's Teacher. Now, I spoke a little bit about this book in my last reading vlog, how a good, really, really, really good slash one of my best friend of mine, gave me this book and saying that it was one of the first, I believe one of the first novels that she ever read, and it holds a very special place in her heart. And she lent it to me, saying that she was really happy that I was getting back into reading and wanted me to share in this experience of one of her, if not her favorite, novels that she's ever read. I am 50 pages into this book, and there are 160 pages, so not too far away. Just about 1/3 of the way through. Almost said 3/4 there. 1/3 of the way through, and I am liking this book. Okay, just pausing to cut out some coughing going on there because we just don't have the time. There's so much to talk about. This book, unlike the others that I've been reading so far this month, which are fantasy books, is not. This is a biography. Now, it's amazing. It is a scholastic book. And scholastic books generally, if not always, hint at the fact that they are a middle grade book, but it is a middle grade biography. So it's absolutely a biography. It's a biography on the life of Helen Keller's teacher. So not Helen Keller, but the teacher herself, whose name is Anne Sullivan. I just have to remember for a moment, Anne Sullivan. And honestly, it's been a really good read, and we've just gotten to this really exciting point that I'm really happy about, so can't wait to keep reading this. I will definitely talk to you guys more about this when we get to the end of this week and hopefully put up a detailed spoiler review about this one. So yeah, definitely enjoying this one, and again, a shout out to my friend. Thank you so much for lending me this book. So what am I going to read after I've finished Helen Keller's Teacher? Because I'm probably going to finish that either tomorrow night or the night after. Well, I'm going to be reading this book, The Magician's Guild by Trudi Canavan. I'm trying to read it through the reflection there. Trudi Canavan. Now, this is a book that when I was doing that Google search that I think I told you guys about, I think it was last week or whenever it was, but it was very recent that I was talking to you guys about this. The Magician's Guild came up as a book that I might like to read. I read the blurb and it sounded absolutely amazing. So I'm looking forward to getting into this one. Really looking forward to it. Tried to find on audio. And yeah, I should kind of pause to quickly give you the story. I tried to find this on an audio book on YouTube or somewhere else where I could legally hear it for free. Couldn't find anywhere, but found out that it was available on Audible. Now, considering that I am starting to love reading actual physical books while listening to the audio, which I don't do all the time. I probably do it for about a quarter of the books that I've read so far this year, so not a lot at all. I strongly considered, do I sign up for Audible or not? Now, I'm not saying any bad words against Audible because I haven't tried them. Why haven't I tried them? Because, well, I tried to sign up to them today twice and for some reason, they just don't want to accept my details. And I've tried and I didn't type anything in incorrectly. So I don't know. Audible don't want me as a subscriber, and that's totally fine. So I will read this book without the audio, and I'm sure that will be fine too. I had a quick look at the first couple of pages. Looks pretty good. I do believe that this is a tome, which it is. Yes. So fantastic. Excuse me, just had to pause really quickly to discuss the fact that Mistborn is not only a book that I've gotten through this year, not only my first adult fantasy book that I've gotten through this year, or adult epic fantasy I've gotten through, or adult epic fantasy with hard magic systems book I've gotten through this year, but most importantly, this is the first tome that I've gotten through this year, and I do believe the first tome I've gotten through in my entire life, so that's pretty interesting. I don't remember how many pages there are exactly, and I'm trying not to ruin it for myself because it's got a preview at the back for Well of Ascension, and I don't want to read Well of Ascension until the 1st of March. 643 pages. This is my first tome, so I'm really excited about that. And considering that I DNF'd those other books, Magician's Guild would become my second tome. Alongside the Magician's Guild, or after I finish Magician's Guild, just seeing how we go, but certainly to round out February, I'm going to read Lev Grossman's The Magicians. There is a lot to say about how excited I am to read this book because in case you don't know, The Magicians itself, this book has actually become a TV show that has spanned, I think, 4 or 5 seasons. I don't know which one they're up to, but it's either 4 or 5. And oh my gosh, I watched the first season and absolutely fell in love with it, which is apparently what this book is. The show is based first season of that show is based off this book. I was about to say this book is based on the first season of the show, but that's not true. Lev Grossman wrote the book first, then the show came out. So I'm very much excited to reread this book. I don't want to give away any spoilers to anyone who hasn't read this book, so what I'm about to say won't mean anything to you, but if you have read this book, I will say I'm very excited to go back to Fillory and, to read a lot more about Fillory. I'm very excited to read about Quentin and Alice and Elliot and Margot. Oh my god, I love Margot, so I hope she's in this version. We'll see how we go. But yeah, so really, really looking forward to this one, and I'm going to be rounding out February with this book, and if there's more time, who knows what will come next? I don't. Do you? Okay, so now it's time to talk about, see, so much to talk about that we just don't have time. Now it's time for me to talk about the books that I have come into this week. I ended up purchasing a couple of different books this week, so let's get right into discussing them. The first book that I purchased this week is A College of Magic. This book looked absolutely amazing, and it's actually come from a website. I purchased this book online, where the other ones I purchased from my own store, but I purchased this one online. The website is absolutely amazing. Right off the bat, they tell you that these books are secondhand, but they also talk about the fact that most of the money that you pay towards the books that you are buying goes to a local charity in London. So let's say in England. I don't want to say London because that might just localize it too much, but in England. So I want to give a big shout out to them. I don't remember the name of the website, but if you are over in England or if you know of this website, yeah, when I found this out, it just truly touched me, and I thought, yeah, definitely have to buy a book from them so that, they can give some money to that charity. And I end up choosing A College of Magics. This book sounds amazing. From the little that I know, this is the protagonist, this little girl here, and apparently her uncle has sent her off to a college where you learn magic, and so, yeah, that very much intrigues me. These are the books that I purchased from my own store this week, and I've taken the price tags off this time around because last time I was holding the books up a bit like trying to cover the price tag, but I've taken them off this time and I can show them to you, these ones to you properly. Before I show you the first one, I've got to tell you a little bit of background. So the night before I purchased the book I'm about to show you, I was having a flashback to when I was a child, and my mother had purchased a book for me that she thought I would love. I tried to get anywhere with this book. I think the first time I read it, I read the first couple of pages and then I put the book down and just didn't continue. Excuse me. Then I went on to read a couple of other books and then thought, I'll pick up this book again. I think I got a couple more pages in, then just DNF'd it again. And I think I ended up DNFing this book like 4 or 5 times as a child. And I was thinking, I should go online and try and find this book and see what I think of it now as an adult. Wouldn't you know it, when I started looking the book up, the genre of the book is fantasy. So I was like, oh my god, my favorite genre. So how did I DNF it that many times? What's wrong with this book? Or at least what was wrong with me as a child. But the very next day, I kid you not, the very next day, I went into my store that I work in, as you know, I have a lot of books there, and I found this book. Oh my god, I couldn't believe it. So I grabbed it right away, purchased it, put it in my bag to take it home. It is called Rowan of Rin, and it is by an author named Emily Rodda. Now this shows how new the book is, because the old book that I had looked more like, I don't know if you can see that picture there of the man there. It looked more like that than this. So it was a picture of a young adult or an older child standing in front of a well, where now it's a picture of a dragon. But anyway, I'm really excited to get onto this and try and see if adult me is able to get through more than a couple of pages or more than a chapter. We shall see. I will let you know. The next book I picked up from my store is a book called Pool Boy, and this is written by Michael Simmons. I'm looking forward to reading this book for many reasons, but one of them being the fact that this is not a fantasy book. It's actually I believe it's a contemporary book, and if I find out the actual genre, I'll let you know, but for now, we'll call it a contemporary book. Basically, it is a riches to rags story. From the little I've read of the blurb, it sounds like there is this boy who grew up in a mansion, had everything he ever could want. They had so much money that if he needed anything, just click his fingers and it was given to him. And then one day, all of that was taken away from him, and he either had to live with his poor grandfather or he had to live with one of the servants. I don't know. But either way, it's all about having an appreciation for a not so rich financial life. And I really just thought the way that the blurb sounded, it intrigued me so much. So I'm definitely looking forward to reading this. Pool Boy by Michael Simons. I don't know when I'm going to get around to reading it, but very excited to have it as part of my collection. The next, just think how much time I have left. The next books I want to talk about, and I mean books that I want to talk about, is Ian Irvine's The Sorcerer's Towers series, at least the first 4 books. I don't know if there are more, but this is book 1, Thorn Castle. Sorry, there we go. This is book 2, Giant's Lair. This is book 3, Black Crypt. Sorry, Crypt? Yes. And book 4, Wizardry Crag. Okay. Now, I saw these books in my bookstore, and oh my gosh, the premise and the blurbs sounded so amazing. The issue that I have with this as far as my goal setting for 2020 is that the first book is, I think, like 75 pages long, so they're incredibly, incredibly short. So the deal I've made with myself is that if I'm going to read one, then I'll read 1, 2, 3, and 4 and count it as one book. I just think that's the fairest way to do it. Just for me, for where I'm at with my reading, and that's not saying anything to anyone else. You may read all 4 of these and count them as 4 7 books, but for me, for my goal setting for 2020 on Goodreads is what I'm referring to. I don't want to have 4 separate books that are only 75 pages in length and say, I've read 4 books, because to me, that is not reading 4 separate books. It might be for you, but it's not for me. So if I'm going to read one, I'll read all 4, and then I will count it as one book that I've read. Finally, we have another Emily Rodda book. Again, the author, I'm just checking the time. Yep, we're good. The author I spoke to you about before with Rowan of Rin, Emily Rodda. And I found this book, The Third Door. Looks really intriguing. Wooden door, bats. It's pretty cool. The only thing I noticed, and I only noticed it today, is it's actually book 3 in the series. And it is actually book 3 in the Doors series or something like that. I was seeing it earlier. Yeah, in the Three Doors trilogy, so which is different to the Rowan of Rin book, because the Rowan of Rin book is actually part of the, yep, you guessed it, Rowan of Rin series. So, so they're 2 different series. This is book 3. I don't have book 1 or book 2. I'll have to do some research and find out if, if it's actually okay to just read book 3, or if I should be reading books 1 and 2 first. If it's a series, maybe I should find books 1 and books 2 first. Finally, I want to talk to you about this. This is incredibly special. Now, this is not something that was gifted to me. It's not even really officially lent to me, but I have been shown this and been told that I'm allowed to read from it. And I just really quickly want to show it to you because I just so appreciate it so much. So I've been thinking, even though I only started this channel in the last week of January, and it's not even the last week of February, it hasn't even been a month yet, but I've been thinking about how I want to expand my horizons with the genres that I read, and that's why Pool Boy, is that what it's called? Yes, Pool Boy, that I showed you earlier, is a contemporary, and the Helen Keller's Teacher is a biography, so I'm starting to try and branch out as much as I can. And I thought I would love to read some classics. So I was talking to all different people about classics that they love and classics that they think I should read, and one that kept coming up was The Great Gatsby, and I really would love to read that. Another one that kept coming up was Wuthering Heights, and another one that came up was Pride and Prejudice. So, talking to all these different people, they're all saying, yeah, you should read this, 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 this. Then I spoke to my dad about it, and he said, oh, I think we have The Great Gatsby, but he couldn't find it. But then he spoke to his wife, and oh my god, you guys, this is very special. This is a collection of fantasy of classic books. So, as you can see, it's called the Gordon Classic Library. This is amazing. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 books here. Okay? And so, I'm just going to quickly, so now I've shown you this, there you go. I'm just going to quickly pause and take out 2 books that I want to show you. So, wouldn't you know it, I'm looking through the titles, and what do you think I find? Pride and Prejudice, Wuthering Heights. Coincidence? I think not. These books are absolutely beautiful. They're very precious. They're like leathery books. Oh my gosh, they're just absolutely beautiful. So, anyway, I just feel so blessed that my stepmom is letting me read these. I had no idea she had these, and I've seen most of the books that she and my dad own because they display them proudly, like I do. But yeah, had never seen this. I'd seen the box, but didn't know what it was. But this is just, an absolute blessing. So, I think that the rest of my month has been taken up with The Magicians and the Magicians Guild and Helen Keller's Teacher as well. But I think that we can safely say that in March, I'm going to be reading either Pride and Prejudice or Wuthering Heights, or both, and I can try and incorporate at least one classic book into my reading. But this just, you guys, you should have seen my reaction when I saw this. When she opened the box, my stepmom opened the box like I did for you guys. Oh my gosh, I was gushing all over the place going, oh my god, like, this is just absolutely incredible. So it just absolutely made my week. So I will leave that there. This is amazing that we've gotten through this before the 33-minute mark, but I think that's as good a time to leave it as any. So with February halfway done, these are the books that I've actually read so far this month. Mistborn, Once, and Vampire Academy. I should say not this month, this week. I've completed them this week. These are the 2 books that I've added to my DNF collection, the 3 Dark Crowns, as well as the Kiss of Deception. And these are the books that should be taking up the rest of this month for me. Helen Keller's Teacher, The Magicians Guild, and The Magicians. So I will leave that there and let you guys go with peace, blessings, and so much love. I might just move the camera back up since you don't need to see that box anymore. So much love. If you have any comments, thoughts, and or questions, please do leave them in the comments section below. And if you think that, I should be doing midweek check-ins as well, please let me know also, because there were just so many books I had to discuss with you guys that, trust me, it was a slogging wait to get through to do my next vlog. So if you think I should do a midweek one, let me know. And if you have any suggestions for books that you would like to see me read and do reviews on, certainly let me know that in the comments as well below. Thank you so much for watching, letting you go with peace, blessings, and so much love. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys, bye. Happy reading.